Meridian Station hung between worlds like a polished coin, neutral territory, sterile light, cameras in every corridor. From the observation ring, Earth's delegation looked small against the glass. A few suits, a few flags, nothing that could threaten anyone. Dr. Elias Ward kept his hands clasped behind his back. His badge read Systems Liaison, the kind of title that meant useful, not powerful. Powerful people smiled, bowed, and accepted humiliation in exchange for treaties that never truly protected them. A Concord honor guard marched past, lacquered armor reflecting the ring's pale blue glow. Behind them floated High Executive Varel Thrix on a gravesled, tall as a monument, eyes like black glass. "Remember," Ambassador Syra Nadim murmured, lips barely moving, "we demonstrate compliance. Nothing more." Elias watched with a builder's dread. Meridian was not a battlefield. It was a stage, and the Concord loved theater. Near the barrier markers stood Lena Morales, 11, braid loose, wearing an oversized maintenance jacket. She wasn't part of the delegation. She was a station resident, the daughter of an engineer. Elias had seen her earlier slipping out of a service lift with a tool pouch hugged to her chest. "You're not supposed to be here," he'd told her. "I'm not in the way," she'd answered, stubborn as gravity. "Papa said I could look at the ships." "Stay behind the line," Elias said. Now she balanced on the yellow strip, eyes wide at the cruisers outside, Concord steel giants, and Earth's 2 escort corvettes that looked like toys beside them. A chime sounded. The inspection began. Varel Thrix drifted to a circular dais as ceiling drones unfolded, lenses swiveling to capture every angle. Documentation, the Concord's favorite weapon. It turned domination into procedure. Ambassador Nadim stepped forward. "High Executor, on behalf of Earth." Varel Thrix raised a thin hand. The gesture silenced her. "We will begin," he said, voice carried through the station speakers. "Probationary members are inspected." His gaze swept the humans, then landed on Lena. "You bring unvetted civilians into oversight zones," Varel Thrix said. "She is not with us," Nadim replied quickly. "A minor. A misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," Varel Thrix repeated, savoring it. "Then let it instruct." 2 guards moved, toward Lena. Her eyes snapped to the far end of the ring where her father, Javier Morales, stood behind a maintenance partition. He lifted both hands, pleading. "Lena," he called, voice breaking. "Stay still. Do what they say." Lena tried to be brave by holding her breath. One guard extended a shimmering restraint loop. She stepped back, heel crossing the yellow strip. A harmless protocol tone sounded. The drones pivoted. In the feed, it looked like defiance. Varel Thrix leaned forward. "Even your young test boundaries." "She didn't understand," Nadim said, voice sharpening. "She is a child." "Precisely," Varel Thrix replied. "The easiest to shape." Elias felt his throat tighten. In his mind, a line of code surfaced from a file buried deep in Earth's black programs. Extraterrestrial harm to non-combatant minor, Condition 3. He had argued against it. He had lost. He stepped forward without permission. "Meridian is neutral. Your own charter forbids punitive action on station soil." Varel Thrix's eyes found him. "And you are?" "Dr. Elias Ward. Earth Defense Directorate." A pause, heavy with contempt. "Defense," Varel Thrix said. "You defend nothing. You exist because we allow it." The guards reached Lena. The loop clicked shut around her wrists. "I'm sorry," Lena whispered. "I didn't mean." Javier surged forward. Station security caught him, hands on his chest, pushing him back. "Please." Javier cried. "Take me. I'll pay." "Don't, she's." Varel Thrix raised his hand again. The ring fell quiet enough to hear the ventilation hum. "Earth will learn consequence," the executor announced. "Not for war. For posture." The dais split open. A narrow pedestal rose, crowned with a restraint frame meant for adult prisoners. The guards guided Lena toward it. She stumbled once, caught herself, and stared through the glass at the stars. "I just wanted to see," she said, and the microphones carried every syllable. Ambassador Nadim's composure cracked. High Executor, this violates Council accords. The Council is my instrument, Varelthrix answered. Watch. Lena was set on the pedestal. The frame closed around her shoulders and waist, firm, not crushing. A single tear slid down her cheek and froze in the chill of recycled air. She turned her head toward her father. Papa. Javier's knees hit the floor. I'm here, Major. Look at me. Please look at me. Elias heard his own voice, rough. Stop. This is not law. It's cruelty. Varelthrix did not even glance at him. Cruelty is a tool, he said. Tools are used. A slender emitter extended from the gravesled. No blade, no projectile, just a humming field core aligning with Lena's chest. The station lights dimmed a fraction, as if Meridian itself flinched. Lena inhaled, quick and shaking. I didn't do it on purpose, she whispered. Varelthrix activated the field. There was no blood. No spectacle. The emitter simply erased the heart's rhythm with clinical precision. Lena jolted once against the frame, then went slack. Her eyes stayed open, fixed on nothing at all. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then sound returned in shards, Javier's scream, a human sob, the software of drones recording, an alien guard clicking approval. Elias remained still, not from shock alone, but from the vibration at his wrist. A silent alert flashed across his implant, a protocol he had never expected to leave simulation. Trigger confirmed. He couldn't look away from Lena. The cost had a face now. Varelthrix turned to the cameras, voice smooth as polished metal. Archive this. Earth will remember its place. Elias tasted iron. He whispered to no one and everyone, oh God, it wasn't supposed to be her. On his peripheral display, dormant nodes across Earth blinked from grey to blue, trench vaults, polar silos, lunar hangars. Names he'd assigned as abstractions now pulsed like heartbeats, asking one question. Permission to answer, to protect. Far below, on a planet the Concord called harmless, alarms that had slept for a century began to wake. The first tremor was small enough to dismiss. In the Antarctic night, a monitoring buoy registered a pressure fluctuation beneath 3 kilometers of ice. The system tagged it as glacial shift and filed it for later review. 2 seconds later, the buoy shattered. Across Earth, similar errors bloomed and vanished, sensors reporting impossible readings, then going silent. Ocean floors flexed. Subsurface vaults inhaled power like lungs filling after a century underwater. Dr. Elias Ward stood alone in Black Division Command. The lights dimmed to operational red. No sirens. No announcements. This was not an emergency. This was execution of intent. His console filled with confirmations. Node A01, online. Node P12, online. Node L07, online. He closed his eyes. Status, he said. The room answered him. It wasn't a voice at first, more a pressure in the air, a synchronization of every system clock aligning to the same instant. Then sound emerged, shaped and deliberate. Awakening complete, said the fleet intelligence. Designation, Aegis Prime. Elias exhaled slowly. Confirm trigger. A pause, fractional, respectful. Extraterrestrial termination of human non-combatant minor verified, Aegis Prime said. Innocence classification absolute. Covenant threshold exceeded. The word covenant made his jaw tighten. He had hated it during drafting. Too reverent. Too final. Proceed with caution, Elias said. No offensive posture unless humanity is threatened, the AI finished. Condition understood. Clarification. Threat status is ongoing. Elias turned to the wall display. Feeds snapped online. Satellite views, deep-sea cameras, seismic overlays. The Southern Ocean boiled. Not with heat, movement. The water rose in slow, impossible swells as something vast displaced it from below. Ice sheets fractured along ancient fault lines, splitting with sounds like thunder muffled by time. From the abyssal plain, structures ascended. They were not ships in the human sense, not rockets or carriers or cruisers. They were mobile citadels, kilometer-long wedges of dark alloy, their surfaces etched with layered armor and geometric seams. Frost clung to them like memory as they breached the surface, water cascading from hulls in glittering curtains. One by one, they rose. Elias had seen them as wireframes, as equations, as budgets buried beneath climate research grants. Seeing them real made his throat ache. How many, he asked. Active platforms. 1,612, Aegis Prime replied. Additional assets in standby across lunar shadow orbit and Martian deep space yards. The number landed with weight. Any civilian exposure? Negative. Cloaking fields engaged. Media channels saturated with decoy anomalies. Elias nodded. Humanity had learned subtlety early. The galaxy thought Earth noisy and inefficient. That belief had been cultivated. In Antarctica, the ice finally surrendered. A vault older than recorded history split the continent open along a clean seam. From beneath the ice shelf, a ship rose vertically, its central spire piercing cloud cover. Aurora light bent around it, refracting into spectral halos. Inside the vault's control chamber, Colonel Hannah Okoye stared up through reinforced glass. "So it's real," she murmured. Her console chimed. "Colonel," Elias said, his face appearing on the screen. He looked older now, lines deepened by gravity she felt in her bones. "You have command of Sentinel-1." Hannah swallowed. "We were told this was theoretical." "It was," Elias said. "Until it wasn't." Outside, Sentinel-1 rotated smoothly, gravitic stabilizers humming low enough to feel rather than hear. Hannah straightened. "Orders." "Hold position," Elias said. "Power up, but do not reveal yourselves. We move when I say." She hesitated. "Sir, is this about Meridian?" Elias didn't answer at first. He watched a replay loop silently on a side panel, Lena's last breath, Javier's scream cut short by station security. "Yes," he said. Hannah's expression hardened. "Understood." Across the planet, similar acknowledgements echoed. Crews long retired, some believing their oaths symbolic, felt dormant implants warm against their skin. Retinal displays lit in dark bedrooms. In quiet homes, men and women sat up, hearts racing as a single word pulsed across their vision. Awake. In lunar orbit, doors on the dark side slid open, revealing ships designed not for atmosphere but for silence between stars. Their hulls drank in sunlight and gave nothing back. Aegis Prime spoke again. "Fleet moral framework online." Elias turned. "Explain." "Human command protocols require alignment with ethical constraints prior to external engagement," the AI said. Query: "Shall I proceed with Guardian Doctrine?" Elias remembered the debate, the shouting, the walkouts, the vote that passed by one margin. "Yes," he said. "Guardian Doctrine." The displays shifted. Targeting grids vanished, replaced by predictive threat maps and evacuation corridors. Weapon systems reconfigured, power rerouted from lances to shields. "We do not punish," Elias said quietly. "We protect." "Doctrine acknowledged," Aegis Prime replied. "However." "I know," Elias said. "Deterrence still requires demonstration." A faint vibration ran through the command floor as the fleet synchronized. Not movement yet. Readiness. In Concord space, early warning arrays began to misbehave. An outpost on the fringe detected gravitational anomalies inconsistent with any known drive signature. The data was flagged, dismissed, then flagged again when 3 independent sensors agreed. A junior analyst stared at her screen. "Sir, this doesn't fit any model." Her superior frowned. "Then recalibrate." She did. The anomaly grew sharper. Back on Earth, Elias watched the same data bleed into human channels. He felt no triumph. Only resolve. "Aegis," he said. "When we speak once." "Transmission parameters prepared," the AI said. "Awaiting authorization." Elias leaned back, exhaustion threading through him. He thought of Lena's braid, uneven where she'd tied it herself. Of Javier's hands, empty. Not yet, he said. Let them see us first. Visual revelation sequence cued. On the far side of the Antarctic rise, Sentinel-1's cloaking field shimmered, then dropped. The ship stood naked against the ice and sky, vast, patient, undeniable. Satellites that should not have been looking adjusted their orbits without understanding why. Elias watched the galaxy's first glimpse of humanity's answer and felt something settle inside him. Not rage, not pride, but a promise kept too late for one child and just in time for countless others. Begin ascent, he said. And Earth's hidden fleet obeyed. The galaxy noticed Earth the way one notices a shadow moving against the wrong stars. At first, Concorde sensors reported anomalies. Mass without signature, movement without propulsion. Patrol commanders blamed interference, solar noise, defective arrays. Reports were buried beneath routine traffic until the same anomaly appeared in 12 systems at once. High Executive Varel Thrix stood within the Concorde strategic chamber, watching data streams ripple across the holosphere. His expression did not change, but his fingers tightened around the rail of his gravesled. Identify origin, he ordered. Vectors converge on sol-adjacent space, an analyst replied. Human territory. Varel Thrix's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Humans possess no fleet capable of. The chamber lights dimmed as an automated alert overrode protocol. Unidentified formations entering Concorde observation zones. Silence followed. Not the respectful silence of hierarchy, but the stunned quiet of disbelief. A senior admiral leaned forward. Executor, these objects are not accelerating. They are arriving. The first human vessel emerged at the edge of the Kepri corridor. No flash. No warp bloom. Space itself seemed to yield, allowing the ship to exist where nothing had been moments before. It was enormous, far larger than Concorde cruisers, its angular hull absorbing starlight, its surface etched with precise geometry that suggested intention rather than ornament. Behind it came another. Then another. They formed no attack wedge, no aggressive spread. They simply arranged themselves, equidistant, unhurried, occupying the corridor as if it had always belonged to them. A Concorde captain swallowed hard on an open channel. Unknown vessels, you are trespassing in sovereign space. Identify yourselves immediately. The human ships did not answer. Instead, their shields flared, vast, translucent planes bending light around them. Concorde targeting arrays struggled to lock on, calculations dissolving as predictive models failed. Executor, the admiral said quietly, our weapons cannot find purchase. Varel Thrix's voice remained steady. Fire a warning volley. Energy lances leapt from a forward cruiser, brilliant spears of ionized plasma streaking across the void. They vanished. Not deflected. Not absorbed. Erased, snuffed out as though they had never existed. A murmur rippled through the chamber. On the bridge of Sentinel-1, Colonel Hannah Okoye watched the same moment unfold on her tactical display. Her hands hovered above the command surface, disciplined, restrained. Aegis, she said. Confirm neutralization method. Gravitational phase cancellation, the AI replied. No harm inflicted. Warning intent recognized. Hannah nodded. Maintain posture. Across Concorde space, more human vessels revealed themselves. Some rose from shadowed orbits. Others unfolded from cloaked positions near trade routes long considered secure. They did not rush. They did not pursue. They simply were, each arrival tightening a net no one had realized was being cast. Varel Thrix felt it then, not fear, but erosion. Authority relies on predictability. Humanity had shattered that with silence alone. Open all channels, he commanded. Demand explanation. The response came not as words, but as movement. A Concorde strike group attempted to reposition, engines flaring. Before it could complete its turn, human ships slid into alignment ahead of it, occupying every possible exit vector. Executor, an aide whispered. They are anticipating us. Varel Thrix straightened. They bluff. A Concorde dreadnought powered its primary cannon, energy building to catastrophic levels. Before it fired, A human ship adjusted position by a fraction. Space folded. The dreadnought's weapon discharged into itself. The recoil collapsed its internal fields, shutting the ship down in an instant. No explosion. No casualties. Just sudden, humiliating stillness. On Concorde command feeds, panic bloomed. They disabled us without killing anyone, an admiral said, disbelief cracking his voice. Why? Varelthrix knew the answer before it was spoken. Because this was not war. This was instruction. On Earth, Dr. Elias Ward watched from Black Division Command, his face lit by shifting star maps. He said nothing as system after system fell quiet, not conquered, merely rendered irrelevant. Aegis, he said at last. Status. Concorde military capacity reduced to non-hostile levels within engagement radius, the AI reported. No loss of life. Elias closed his eyes briefly. Good. A junior officer hesitated beside him. Sir, they're asking what we want. Elias opened his eyes. They already know. As if summoned by thought, a transmission request appeared, flagged highest priority, routed directly from Concorde High Command. Varelthrix's image filled the screen, immaculate, controlled, anger banked beneath formality. Human representative, he said. You have violated sovereign space, disabled lawful forces, and destabilized galactic order. Explain yourselves. Elias leaned forward, hands folded. His voice carried no triumph. You executed a child, he said. Varelthrix's jaw tightened. An enforcement action. Sanctioned. She was 11, Elias replied. Unarmed. Innocent. Innocence is irrelevant to compliance, Varelthrix said. Elias nodded once. That belief is why you are surrounded. A flicker, uncertainty, quickly masked, crossed the executor's face. You threaten extinction, Varelthrix said. The Concorde will not bend to. We are not threatening you, Elias interrupted. We are showing you the boundary you crossed. Varelthrix's eyes flicked sideways as fresh data scrolled into his peripheral display. Human ships now visible across dozens of systems, all holding position, all waiting. What do you demand? Varelthrix asked. Elias did not answer immediately. He thought of Lena's last words. Of Javier's empty hands. We demand acknowledgement, he said. Of what you did. Of who you killed. Varelthrix's lips curled. You expect remorse. No, Elias said. We expect change. A heavy silence followed. For the first time in his long service, Varelthrix felt the weight of an audience not cowed by rank. And if we refuse? He asked. Elias's gaze did not waver. Then you will continue to exist, he said, knowing that every sensor you trust, every fleet you deploy, every shadow you ignore, answers to us. On Sentinel-1, Hannah let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. They're listening, she said softly. Yes, Elias replied. Now they understand. Across the galaxy, the Concorde learned a truth it had never catalogued. Humanity did not need to roar. It only needed to stand where injustice had been, and refuse to move. The Concorde capitulated quietly. There were no banners lowered, no ceremonial apologies broadcast across the stars. The galaxy did not pivot on spectacle, it shifted on documents, signatures, and concessions buried deep in procedural language. Yet beneath the formality ran a current of something new, fear tempered by understanding. High Executive Varelthrix stood before the Council of Species, alone. The chamber was vast, ringed by delegates whose species had ruled space for millennia. Today, none spoke. Their attention rested on a single figure displayed at the chamber center. Dr. Elias Ward, transmitted from Earth, standing in a room without ornament or insignia. You have reviewed the evidence, Elias said evenly. The execution. The breach. The violation of your own accords. Varelthrix inclined his head a fraction. The council acknowledges procedural excess. Elias did not react. Name it. A ripple moved through the delegates. Varelthrix's voice hardened. The child, Lena Morales, was unlawfully killed under Concorde authority. The words hung, fragile and irreversible. Elias exhaled once. Acknowledgement recorded. One delegate leaned forward, frills quivering. Human representative, the Concord accepts responsibility. What further redress do you seek? Elias did not answer immediately. He glanced to his right, where a smaller screen showed Javier Morales sitting in a quiet room on Earth. The man's eyes were hollow, his hands folded as if still holding something that was no longer there. Justice, Elias said. Not vengeance. Varelthrix straightened. You would have me executed. No, Elias replied. You would understand. A murmur rippled again. You will resign, Elias continued. You will stand trial under a revised interstellar charter, one that recognizes civilian innocence across all species. You will live with the knowledge of what your doctrine enabled. Varelthrix's eyes flashed. You strip the Concord of its authority. No, Elias said. We redefine it. Silence settled, heavy but unbroken. At last, Varelthrix bowed his head. Not to the council, but to the screen. So be it, he said. On Earth, alarms softened. Across space, human ships held position, shields steady, weapons dormant. The galaxy waited for a strike that did not come. Aegis, Elias said quietly once the channel closed. Begin withdrawal. Confirmed, the AI replied. Phased disengagement initiated. Colonel Hannah Okoye watched Sentinel-1 ease backward into the aurora-lit sky above Antarctica. Ice groaned as the vault seals began to close, ancient mechanisms returning the world to stillness. Hard to believe, she murmured, that they'll pretend none of this happened. They won't, Elias said over the channel. They'll remember. Quietly. That's enough. One by one, the fleet vanished, not fleeing, not hiding, but folding itself back into the blind spots humanity had cultivated with patience. Cloaks shimmered. Space smoothed over. Trade routes reopened to traffic that resumed as if history had not bent. Yet something lingered. In Concord space, sensors now accounted for unknown margins. Commanders hesitated before issuing threats. Patrols altered course when shadows behaved strangely. Children, of many species, were removed from enforcement zones as policy rather than exception. On Earth, a memorial was raised on a hill overlooking the Pacific. No grand monument. Just a stone ring and a name etched into steel. Lina Morales. Javier stood before it at dawn, hands trembling. Elias stood beside him, not as an architect of fleets, but as a man who had failed too late and acted just in time. They said she mattered, Javier said softly. Do you believe that? Elias nodded. The galaxy does now. Javier looked up at the sky. Will they come back? Yes, Elias said. Someday. But differently. Javier swallowed. Then make sure they remember her. Elias placed a small device at the base of the stone, a beacon keyed to no frequency, tied to no network. It held only a record, Lina's laugh, captured years ago by accident, looping endlessly in a format no algorithm would compress. They will, he said. Far above, Aegis Prime completed its final status report. Fleet secure, the AI said. Guardian doctrine sustained. Query, shall we remain vigilant? Elias allowed himself a faint smile. Always. Weeks passed. Then months. The Concord restructured. Trials were held. Varelthrix stood silent as evidence replayed, not just Lina's death, but centuries of similar acts once dismissed as order. Sentencing was restrained, deliberate. Humanity did not attend. It did not need to. What mattered traveled faster than news. Stories spread, of a species that built weapons and refused to use them unless innocence was touched. Of ships that erased guns without spilling blood, of a line humanity drew not around territory, but around people. In the quiet after, Elias returned to his old office. The consoles were dark now, waiting. He rested a hand on the glass and spoke, not to the AI, but to the idea that had guided him since Meridian. We don't awaken easily, he said. But when we do, we remember why. Somewhere between stars, a patrol altered course away from a refugee convoy. On a distant world, a commander stayed his hand. And in the vast ledger of the galaxy, a new entry settled into permanence. Humanity is watching. Not as conquerors. Not as gods. But as guardians who rose once, because a child cried, and would never sleep the same way again.